So I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Lucas Ruderman. I'm a local Nyack filmmaker. I studied film in all the way since high school. I was interested. I knew I wanted to do this. I started out as an actor, actually, and I decided that I wanted to be behind the camera. And so I kind of went on with that. And it's hard to do freelance work and make the solid living. So you kind of have to do everything. So I do camera work, I do lighting work, I do directing work, and editing work. And editing is actually where, interestingly, a lot of the bread and butter comes from. So hopefully a lot of the tips that I can give you will help you in your own home editing. Sometimes you take a video of your kids, of your grandkids, of your sister, or whatever, and you want to make a special, fun birthday video or something. You don't know how to do it because you don't have the programs or you don't have anything. So I'm going to hopefully help you with some of that. I will be showing you Premiere, Adobe Premiere, which, yes, unfortunately, is a subscription-based platform, but there are a lot of benefits to it, and I do not get paid by Adobe to promote their work at all. But the reason I choose them is because I work professionally as an editor, and they are, without a doubt, the industry standard right now. So some of you may already be editors or have worked with editing a little bit, and you may have heard of Final Cut or Avid. These are all industry standards. Adobe has now taken over that spot because the programs that they have just work seamlessly. They're also, you may have heard of iMovie and Windows Movie Maker. Those, I'm not, while I may not be showing those tonight, a lot of the principles are the same. And so it shouldn't be too difficult to come from Premiere and move into that kind of program. If you do want to know more about that, again, I'm going to put my info in the chat. Might as well do it right now. And this way you can ask me questions about iMovie and Movie Maker, and I can tell you separately. So I'm just going to put my email in the chat, so it'll be there the whole time. And so just jot that down, and any questions that you have from here to the end of time, please email me and ask me anything. I'm here to help. I'm here for my Rockland community. So what, I don't know if Cheryl had sent it out yet, but I sent her a link to a Google Drive of just some, what's it called? Just some assets. If you don't have anything to edit right now, if you want to follow along with your program, you're more than welcome to. If you just want to take notes on what I'm saying, you can do that. However you want to go about this, go ahead. So if you are going to open up the program while I'm doing so, it would be helpful if you have, let's say, maybe a video clip, a photo, maybe a music sample. If you don't, hopefully we'll have this link. Oh, actually, I wonder if I can just put that in the chat. I might be able to do that. I did it. Great. Okay. So if you do want to work with me at the same pace with the same assets, I'm going to be using the assets in this folder. Just a little backstory. I work as a freelance editor for a company called Den of Geek. They're online, but now they have print magazines, and they do geeky stuff. So all the shows and movies and things that are coming out, they get first dibs on doing interviews with cast, interviews with the crew, doing all that kind of stuff. They do that, and they hire me to film things, edit things. So in the folder is some footage from an interview that we did with the cast of Doctor Who. From the 2020 season, I think it was Jodie Whittaker and Mandeep Gill and all of them. So there's 2 clips in the folder of our interview. Then there's a couple of just footage, like trailers for the season. And then I have some images and some music clips. And the idea is that you can download all of them And what I'm going to start with is the most important thing is organizing. This comes down to whether you're doing this professionally, if you're doing this for your home video, however you want to do it, you must organize all of your assets very clearly and very, the most easy and efficient for yourself. So I get a little crazy with my organizing because I like to know where every last thing is. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and I hope this is all going to work. So I'm going to look at, let's see, this. Does everybody see this editing folder here?
Yes.
Sweet, great, this is working.
Yes.
Okay, so if you download the folder from the link, actually, I should probably say if you go to the link, it should bring you to the folder, but you have to right-click on the editing class drop-down. And let me see if I can actually, I'm going to stop share for a second and change it to Chrome. Okay. So does everybody see my Chrome now?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the folder that everybody got. If you want to follow along, you can. If not, just ignore this. Up here, it says editing class. You'll right-click this, click download, and then it's going to zip it, and it's going to ask where you want it to go, and you can decide whether you want it to go into a specific place or just into your downloads folder. From there, it's going to get really important. So for right now, I'm just going to put it in my editing folder. I have a hard drive called Big Boy, 8 terabytes. Classes, editing, and I'm going to just save it there. I've already done it, so I'm not going to hit save, but if you're there, you can hit save.
I don't know what I did already.
And then you'll have to unzip it first because it will be zipped. Let's do a new share. Okay.
Sorry, Lucas. I'm having a hard time. When you said right click, I'm not sure what that means on my computer. So
if you're on a Mac, you can do what's it called? Command click.
Oh, okay. And then the menu comes down. Then we're downloading it.
And then hit download.
Sorry, I got behind.
No worries. No worries. Please, everybody stop me if I go too fast and ask questions as we go so I can answer them right away and fix all the problems.
So once we did, you said zip came up then. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a zip file. It may take a little bit of time. I noticed some people are having issues with the timing. It may take just a couple of minutes because it's a little big. And it is a 0 in my email for anybody who's wondering, not an O. Okay. So here's the editing folder, and if you're on a Mac, you can just double click and then it'll unzip it for you. And then you can actually just get rid of this, command delete that. And now you'll have a folder that has all of the things in it. So from here, you're going to want to, so do we have hard drive? Does everybody have a hard drive or just somewhere on their computer that they want to put things in? Because that's going to be the best way to take care of this. What I suggest, and this is actually how I like to start everything, because I have, this is actually a 12 terabyte hard drive. It's a power supply. So these are, if you're going to do professional editing where it starts to take up a lot of RAM on your computer, you want to get something like this. This is, it's WD, Western Digital, 12 terabyte. Unless you're doing a whole lot of stuff, you probably don't need a 12 terabyte. You could probably get away with a 1 terabyte and be fine.
Do you like Western Digital? That's one of your favorite?
I love Western Digital.
Okay.
I love Western Digital. I like Lacey, I don't know how you pronounce it. That's also good. I can't do Seagate. I do not trust it. I've had problems. My friends have had problems. I would never recommend Seagate. If you have it and it works, great, but I would not recommend it ever. Western Digital, 100%, power supply drive if you're going to be editing a lot with it, because you want the power supply to keep the speeds up, to keep the drive going, well. Of the Lacey's, the rugged and the rugged and the Porsche design are among the best hard drives, along with the Western Digital. So those, I would say, are all the best. Let's see. Okay, so when you have your hard drive, or let's say you want to do it on your desktop, these aren't huge files, so you can leave them on your desktop. You're going to want to make a folder for them. And you may have made a folder with that editing class already. And I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So here's all the clips. We've got the music, we've got the images and everything. And what we'll do is we'll make a new folder, and I'm going to title them what each thing is. You want these things to be separate because you are not going to find them as easily if you don't. Everybody's got their own organization process. This is by far the best, certainly for me and for a lot of people who edit a lot. I'll make another new folder, which you can do this drop down, or you can right click or command click on the empty space and hit new folder. I'll do clips. Do one more from music, and I'm going to actually do one last one for the interview. Okay. From here, I'm going to take each individual thing and put them into the right bins. And for those of you who know how to do this and are already beyond this, I'm just, I want to get every last little thing, because these are the things that get screwed up and make it hard to edit. So you'll notice the extensions on the ends of the clips have different extensions. So you see JPEG, MP3, MP4. That's what determines what the different file is. So a JPEG is a photo, and so we're going to make sure that goes into images. So we'll find the other photos, and we'll drop those into images. So these two MP4s, not the clip 1 and 2, but these two are going to go in the footage bin, or the clips bin. And yeah, I named it weird. The clips are not going to go in the clips. The clips are going to go in the interview. And then the music will go into the music. Does everybody understand the organization process? This is within Finder. There is another organization process that happens once you've imported your things into Premiere. So are we in the same ballpark right now? Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an edits folder so that I have somewhere for my edit to go. When you open up Premiere and you bring things in, they're not there forever. So if you move something from one of these folders, it's not going to know where it was. It makes a copy. Once it's in Premiere or Movie Maker, iMovie, any of those programs, it makes a copy of a preview for you to use. The clip is not actually there. So if I were to delete any of these folders after I've made an edit, everything's going to be gone. So why I love to organize like this is so that I can have it all in those folders and then not touch it. There's no reason to, because as long as everything is in those folders and I'm organizing things on Premiere, they can stay there forever. And as soon as you move it, it's going to change things in the program. So we'll keep these as they are. And I'll make maybe I'll just share my whole desktop. Okay, so everybody sees my whole desktop, right? Okay. So I'm going to open up Premiere. And if you have, I don't know if I'm taking up everybody's screen, but you can minimize this if you want to follow along and open up your own Premiere. So just, if you want to do that, you can. If not, just take notes or, okay, so I'm going to hit new project. There's a dialog box that comes up, and if you've done other edits, it'll show them. But I'm going to hit new project. And then this is the other really important part, because if this isn't set up properly, you will lose everything, unfortunately. So you title it however you want to title it. I'm going to title it editing class. Okay, and then I'm going to browse and tell the program where I want it to go. If I'm not clear about this and I don't know where it is later, I won't be able to find it, and there goes my edit. So we'll go browse.
Excuse me a second.
Sure.
How did you call up the menu, the black menu? What is that menu behind this? This menu? Yeah, the new project menu. How did you call that up?
So here, this is the first opening thing that comes up. As soon as you open the program, you open up Premiere, this
Okay.
program will come up, this dialog box.
Okay.
And then you'll hit new project right here.
All right. One way or the other, you have to get to new project. Okay, fine.
Yes. Yeah, you'll click new project there. You can, if you've started a project, you can make a new project already within. But this is going to be the way it's going to open up every time you just open up Premiere. Okay, so you're going to browse. You're going to go to the hard drive or the folder. Let's say your folder was on the desktop and you want to go to that. Or if you want to go to the hard drive and you know where it is. I know mine's in Big Boy and in my classes, editing class, edits. Okay. Quite a lot of folder trees, but that's had to make them again. All right, and then you'll hit choose. Title it, however, so editing class. The next thing, you want to just double check that your scratch disks are all the same. It should be, but just double check. The scratch disk, without getting too technical, is basically telling the program where to link the files to. So if I say that, these clips are in this folder, you need to get those clips from that folder. Otherwise, it's not going to know where to go. And if the scratch disk changes, everything's going to go offline. And I think the best way to show this is I'll actually demonstrate what happens when you delete or move something. I'll show you what happens in Premiere when you do that. But at this point, we'll press OK. And this is your basic editing software look. Almost any editing software is going to look similar to this. And if you use, certainly if you use Final Cut or Avid, they're going to look very similar to this. If you use iMovie or Movie Maker, it may look a little bit different, but the principles, like I said, will be the same. So,
sorry, Lucas. I just got lost between, I opened the new project, but then when I hit browse, I wasn't sure what I was looking for.
So when you're going to put it in whatever folder, you're going to remember where that folder is. So if you're working off of a hard drive right now, make sure once you hit browse, click that hard drive. So like, if I know that this is my hard drive that I want it to go in, click that hard drive.
Oh, so the external hard drive?
The external hard drive, correct.
Okay, all right.
And then you'll find the folder that you want it to go in. So mine was in ACORE.
Or I can make a new folder?
Or you can make a new folder. Hey, as long as you remember it. That's the most important thing. And the most, scary thing about all of this is that you have to remember where you put all the things. And that's why for every project that I do, like with Den of Geek, the company that I work for, every project I do for them is in a completely different folder, all within a Den of Geek folder, but each one is in a different folder so that I never lose anything. I don't know how many of you are going to be doing that that kind of editing work, but if you are, I would highly suggest that route. But like I said, if you wanted to make a video for your kids, you want to make sure that you just know where that folder is, and then you're good. It could be on your desktop if it's not a lot of space. It can be on your external hard drive, wherever. And then once you've selected where you want it to go, and you type in the title, just hit OK, and then this is what you're going to see.
Excuse me, Lucas, do you back up while you're doing, I mean, you know, you're saying everything is in that one place. You know, you're scaring me that, you know, did you back up while you're doing this, or how? I know you back up, but how do you do that?
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. I'm the king of telling people to back up their stuff, but I'm the other king of not backing up his stuff, because the amount of media that I work with is, I mean, I got a 12 terabyte hard drive, and I'm already, I got it a little while ago, and I'm already about a quarter of the way done with it. So I go through hard drives like paper. So, and that's a lot of money. So I can't really back up everything, but I absolutely, if you're not working with that much media, or even if you are, you should absolutely back it up. And the way to do that would be, let's say you have my big boy hard drive, and I do happen to have another one right here. I mean, I have about 12 right here, but let me just plug this one in so I can show you. And I think you'll get a kick out of this, because I have a big boy hard drive and a little boy hard drive. So in the little boy, if I wanted to put, let's say, so this is my editing class folder, right? This is where I put all of the stuff that we just did. If I want to back that up, what I'll do is I have both of my hard drives plugged into the computer. I'm looking at big boy on one, little boy on the other. And then I'm going to take that whole folder. It was called editing class. It may be called whatever it is for you, whatever you called it. And you're just going to drag it over, and that's it. And now it's totally backed up on your other drive. And then my next suggestion is eject that drive and don't touch it until you've made enough progress on your new edit. And then you can bring it over again and delete the old folder.
Yeah.
That's the way I would say to back up. There are other Adobe programs actually have a backup feature, so that if you wanted to send this over to somebody and they needed all of the files that, like the files that we just downloaded, and they needed all of it to be exactly the same, there's a way to do that in the programs. Another reason why I do love Adobe. But yeah, so great question. Always back up your stuff. If you have another hard drive, back it up on another hard drive, and it's just a click and a drag. It's super simple. So we have our editing program here. There's 4 main windows that you're looking at in any editing program. They're all the same. So if you have another one, don't worry. They are pretty much the same. The 4 things are going to be called your library, which is down here. On Premiere, it's going to be down here. You can also change the layout if you want, but I'm not going to change it just yet. Let's see. Oh, just to answer some questions, because I just saw some chat questions. Yes, Adobe CS6 is perfectly fine. Whoever asked that, CS6 is perfectly fine. It's a little outdated, but it does the same thing. Adobe just continuously upgrades to make you think that you're paying for something, but you're not. It's the same thing. So CS6 is good. Yes, Movie Maker is free for PCs, and iMovie is free for Mac. If you don't plan on doing a lot of editing, use them. Absolutely. But if you do want to do a little bit more, there's a reason why this is such a good program, and why I recommend it. WD 2 terabyte drive, about $65, is good enough for the average person. Absolutely it is. Absolutely. A 2 terabyte drive, if unless you're working with video files that are going to be 30 gigs, each, which is sometimes what I deal with, 2 terabytes, you're going to be good. So yes. Is there a way to use Creative Cloud? Yeah. If you sign up for Adobe, you can, again, it's a subscription-based thing. You can download their programs. You can either download all of their apps, you can download just their photography apps, or I think you can also just download their video editing apps, Premiere and After Effects and all that. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look at the website. But yes, and there are a lot of people who want to use photography editing apps, and then they end up buying the whole Creative Cloud, and they have all of these programs, and they're not using them because they don't know how to use them. That's why I would, if you have them already, here's the best way to learn. And somebody's only has 3 windows.
I mean, I just opened it up, and yours, I can see yours has 4 and mine only shows 3 windows. It doesn't have the program no sequence window.
The program next week. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So what you can do is when you, I need the Zoom thing to get out of the way. Okay, there we go. So if you go up to editing, there's a little 3 dashes. You can say reset to saved layout.
Okay, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So that's what I was saying to
I
everybody.
lost it last time I was using it. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as you work with it, sometimes you don't like this the way it is and you want to change the layout of it. You can do that, and it's super customizable. I like to work with 2 monitors, so I'll have my preview window over on the other monitor and just look at the program here. Okay, so for Windows, you have your library, which is where all of your media is going to go, and that's how you're going to be able to use it. You have your preview window. Your preview window is where you're going to see each clip that you choose in its entirety and how you're going to select what you want of that clip to be put into your video. And I'll explain more as I show you.
Which is the preview? Oh, the top left? Okay.
Yeah. So it also highlights blue around the box. So this one was library, this one was preview, this one is program. Your program window is what's going to show you how the video is looking overall. So everything that you've put in your sequence, your program window is going to show you what that's looking like. And then you have your timeline. Your timeline is where you're going to make each individual sequence of your clips. And then a bonus little 5 and 6. This window shows you some tools. And this window shows you your audio levels. Not something that you have to worry about just yet. I want to get through the basics. So we're going to start by importing. There's a couple different ways that you can import your media. In this library window, you can double click, and then this dialog box is going to show up. You can right click, import. You can say file, import. You can do the keystroke Command I. Oops, except I did the wrong one. There we go. Or everybody's favorite, drag and drop. So in Premiere, in other editing programs, there's about 10 different ways that you can do anything, which is great and also a problem because then I feel even more ridiculous when I don't know how to do any of them. So there are a lot of ways to do just about anything. I'm going to say let's go with the easiest way, which is let's drag and drop. So we're looking at our Finder window, and we went into our editing class folder that has everything now, our individual folders. And what you can do is you can actually just click and drag the whole folder into Premiere. Not the whole project folder, but each individual folder, like clips, images, interview, music, all 4 of those can just be dragged and dropped into there, and then everything will be there. Just so I can show you 2 different ways, we'll do clips, click and drag, and there they are. So those are our 2 clips. I'm just going to drag our images in separate so I can show you how to create a bin within Premiere. So already now we're like, oh God, we're unorganized. We have to figure out what these things are. So this icon here means that this is a bin. This icon means that it's an image. So I want to organize these images by hitting down here, there are icons, and I'll select new bin. And I'm going to title it images.
So Lucas, I edited, I cut and pasted the editing class into that library, but now I don't, maybe I need to do it folder by folder instead. It doesn't seem to want to open.
I would, yeah, do it folder by folder, because if you do the whole editing class folder and you have this program in it, the project folder in it, it's going to freak itself out.
Okay.
So select each folder. So select clips, select images, interview, and music all separately and drag them in. There are ways that you can do all of them, but just for simplicity for now, we'll just do each individual one. Okay, so for now, for everybody following along on Premiere, how are we okay?
No, I don't know what happened.
Okay, I have all these things here.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So you're just creating the folders for your on your desktop or your hard drive just for your own. But now that we're downloading them without the folders, they're just stacked as images, clips, correct? Or do you prefer that we keep them in folders as well? Because it seems like I'm opening them as into individuals.
If you mean folders in Finder or in Premiere?
In Finder. So I've opened the folder and I've clicked and dragged the actual documents. And I have a list.
The actual documents. So if you've done only the documents like this,
Yeah.
if you've done that, I would still suggest that you make a new bin. And then, so let's say I selected these and these are music files.
Right.
Make a new bin, call it music, and put those in. Just so that you don't get lost in what you've brought in, because when I first started editing, I had everything all over the place and I couldn't find the clips that I needed. So if you don't bring it in by the folder and you bring it in by the documents, each document, I would say make a new bin in Premiere, title it whatever is going to remind you. For me, it's going to be the same thing as I had in Finder.
Okay.
And then, put those into those bins.
So it's called a bin, not a folder within Premiere, but on.
Yeah. Technically, it's called a bin in Premiere, but if I say bin, I mean folder.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
But how do you make a new bin in Premiere? So I
Down
have
here.
all the individual things now, but I don't have a bin or.
Sure. Do you see this where the mouse is moving here?
Hold on, I'm on my screen. Yes.
Okay, so here it says new bin. It looks like a folder. Just click that.
I don't have that on mine.
Do you have the magnifying glass and the new item?
Oh, I guess it's in a different place. Okay. I think
It may be. That's the thing, because Adobe.
where it says create search bin or.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, because I have the 2017 version of Premiere. I just haven't gotten around to updating for 4 years now for some reason. But it's basically the same, but they do change things around. It may be create a new. What else is there down there?
Well, it's not down there. It's up at the top. And sorry, I don't know. It says.
Oh, you know what? An even better way to do this in the empty space in the library, just right click or command click.
And click. Nothing's happening.
Oh, I see where it says a new search bin here.
Oh, if I double click, yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I guess you can go on. I'm just.
Okay, well, like I said, I mean, I know you, Diane. You can call me anytime, and
Yeah, I'm the only one having this trouble. So go ahead.
Well, so this is the best way to organize in your library. And another way, it says, like I said, there's 10 different ways to do everything. In here, if you right click, there should be a new bin, hopefully. Hopefully Adobe didn't mess me up here. Okay, so if you notice when I clicked one of the clips, or double clicked, specifically when I double clicked one of the clips, this popped up in your preview window. That's because it's ready to show you whatever you just double clicked. So I double clicked on this first one, Doctor Who Series 12 trailer copy. And if I press the space bar,
The name's Doctor. The Doctor.
it's going to start playing. Now, just so I know, did you hear the audio or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, cool. So now I can access every bit of this clip from start to finish. And that's going to be the same for everything in our bins. So here's our interview clip.
That's James, like I'm his name. James Bond.
Okay, so if I want to select a part of that, I'm going to have to do what's called an in point and an out point. So imagine, let's say it is for one of your kids, and they're about to do something funny in the clip. And that's going to happen right about here. There's two ways that you can set an in point. One of the ways is right here. You'll see this says mark in. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
You can click that. Or, oh, I can't get rid of that. That's weird. All right. Or you can just press I. The best thing about the programs, and also some of the hardest things about the programs to learn, is that there are about 40 different keystrokes. And what a keystroke means is that if I click a letter on my keyboard or a number on my keyboard or something on my keyboard, it's going to do something. It's going to get a tool ready for me to use. I downloaded a cheat sheet image that has all the keystrokes on it that I can actually give everybody. If I do to everyone, file, give me 1 second, sorry. Oh, no. Bam. Cheat sheet. Okay, so this is going to be helpful specifically for Premiere because these are Premiere cheat keystrokes. So everybody sees these keystrokes here?
Mm-hmm.
So what I just talked about was the in point or mark in. And then you're also going to want to know mark out. Now, I know it's going to get complicated, and please ask any and all questions as we go through this. So these are the most important things that you're going to need to know when taking a clip and taking the part of the clip that you want. That's going to be the most important thing, is making your in and out points. So let's say your kid is about to do something very funny, and that's going to happen right at this moment in the preview.
That's James, like I'm his name.
Let's say that was the funny moment. I'm going to hit my out point, which is O on the keyboard. And so now this right here, this highlighted bit, that's the section of the clip that I want. And so now I'm going to click and drag that down into my timeline. And so now, if you noticed, a couple different things just happened. This whole bit was completely blank, and it said, whatever, bring in a sequence to start or bring in a clip to start. What just happened, to get a little technical, is this timeline or sequence. So there's two different things. There's timeline, which is anything that's down on this bottom bar, on this bottom section here, is your timeline. Your sequence is the individual sequence that has, not to define with the word, but is the assemblance of whatever clips you put in one particular section. So like I said, this is very difficult to kind of do over virtual, but let's say I have two sequences here. So this is one, and now I've got two sequences down here. So I'm just doing this for the point to show you what the different sequences can be. So clip one, sequence called clip one has something in it, and clip one copy of one does not. So only point of that is just to show you that there can be different sequences. But we don't have to worry about that just yet. I brought this down here, and what it did was it created a sequence that has the same resolution, frame rate, all the metadata that comes with this video clip. So if it's a video from your phone, it's going to have the metadata based on whatever your phone did. So if you shot it, vertically, it's going to come in as a vertical video. Vertically. If you did it horizontally, it's going to come in horizontally. And for those of you who may not know resolutions, if you've heard of 1080p or 720p or 4K or any of those, fun numbers, that's just explaining resolution. And the sequence is going to change based on what you've brought into it first. If I put a 4K clip on it after this, it's going to downgrade it to 1080 because that's what this was shot in. Again, if you're going to do this professionally, that will be more important. If you're not, it really is not going to matter. So I brought this in. So now you see that the program window is now showing me what I have in my sequence. So now that we have everything in our timeline or in our Premiere project, now we can see what each thing is doing, right? So hopefully what I said before is now starting to make sense. This is our library. We have all of our stuff in our library. Once we've double-clicked one of our clips, it comes up into the preview window where we can select what we want of the clip. We click and drag over to our timeline to start creating a sequence. And to play that sequence, we now show it in the program window up here. All right. Any questions so far on how that works? Cool. The other thing is that, let's say I was not super happy with the audio at one point in this interview, and let's say it's right here. So I've now set my in point here, my out point here, and what I'm going to do is, instead of where I clicked and dragged from the image here, I was just clicking and dragging from there. That's going to bring both the audio and video clip down here. Instead, if you look down here, there's a drag video only icon and a drag audio only icon. And that way, I can do exactly that. Now I only have the video from that clip, no audio. Which is sad because she's laughing, and I'm sure that's great audio. So now I'm going to try just the audio. Okay. So now I can separate however I want. Whereas if I click and drag the whole thing, I'll have both pieces. And they'll, as I want to move them, they'll work as one. You know, if I want to move just the video, I have to do something to it in order to do that. Otherwise, it's going to move with it. Okay? Does that make sense? So before I get into music and images and all that kind of stuff, something that is interesting here is sometimes you'll get a clip that is not quite synced up. And you may have noticed this when you've done it with your phone videos or things like it's like overdubbed. The audio is not quite synced up with the video. It's the most annoying thing in the world. But I'm going to show you kind of what the best way to figure that out is. So what I just did was I just unlinked the two clips and then just moved it so I could just show you a point. That's funny. It didn't do much. Hold on. You see that? So it's like, the audio and the video was not synced up. So what you can do is, if you want to get closer into the timeline to be able to make more specific edits, you're going to use from our keystrokes the zoom out and zoom in. And that's going to help you see better on the timeline. That's your minus and your plus next to the delete button. Okay, so the other way you can do it also is down here. You'll see there's a scrolling bar. If you click the end of it, that will minimize or maximize the actual timeline.
Where did you click to do the unlink?
So here, I'll just do it on this one. So over here, this is a linked clip.
Right.
If you click on it and then hit right click, unlink.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
And then you can move each piece freely.
Okay. But now they're going to end at a different time.
Exactly. So that's what I did with this. And I'm just going to show you, I'll just bring it back to where it was, and that will be totally synced up. But if you come across a clip that, ends at a different time, and you want to really get, in there, you could say, okay, I know it's going to be, you can actually move it more and more until you get it to where it needs to be. So see, now it's synced up. That's where it starts to get a little complicated and technical. And if you come across those kinds of things, send me an email and I'll show you, I'll remind you how to do that, because that happens all the time. Specifically now, I don't know if anybody's done a Zoom recording, but I'm currently recording now. And you'll notice that when you bring that Zoom recording into a timeline, let's say you want to edit a conversation that you had with, somebody across the world on Zoom. Zoom records at a 25 frame rate, 25 frames per second, which is a European frame rate, which I didn't know it was a European company. It may not be, but it records at a 25 FPS frame rate. The US standard is 23.98 or 24 frames per second. And the only reason why this is really important is because for some reason that starts to mess with the audio, especially if you don't allow Premiere to change the sequence based on the zoom, that particular clip. So these clips that I just gave you are 1920 by 1080, and they're 23.98 frames a second. If I wanted to bring a Zoom video in there, it's going to look a little weird because it's not shot at the same frame rate. So without getting into the whole, philosophy behind frame rates, they're different in every clip, and that can make things look off or look weird, or sound off and sound weird. Okay. Let me just see. I want to make sure that I've covered some of the things that I wanted to. So I talked about hard drives, organized layout, organized bin, open up old projects, setting in out points. I mean, we're moving. This is great. Please, now is a great time if anybody has any questions on what we've done so far, because this was super, intro basics here.
Okay, so are we going to add a clip now? A second clip to that? In other words, to make a film? Are we adding a? Can we add
Absolutely. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because the 2 interview clips that I gave you are of the same exact section, just a different camera, and they're the exact same audio too. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the entire clip of both of them down onto the timeline. So that you can see something kind of cool. So I'm sorry, I did that a little fast. So I brought down the first clip into the timeline, and then I clicked on the second clip. So that's clip 2 in there, and clip 1 is in our preview window. I set an in point and an out point at the very beginning and the very end. And I clicked and dragged, and I brought that over clip 2. If I put it on clip 2, it's going to delete it. So if I put it above clip 2, they will both be on top of each other. So how this works, if you've ever put 2 clips on top of each other, if they're at the same size, whatever's on top is what you're going to see, right? If, let's say I want to change the view from one to the other, if I trim it, that's what's going to get me a cut from one to the next. Okay? So one thing we're going to do before we start getting into a lot of trimming is I'm going to unlink this. So you can go ahead and unlink the top clip and then just delete the audio underneath. Another way you can do it is just mute that track. But I just like to get rid of it because I like to have my tracks. So I would go ahead and delete it. And then this way you don't get double the amount of audio that you don't need because it was mixed well. So now we have one audio clip, one video clip, and a video clip on top of that. And they're all to the same thing because that's how I gave them to you. You may not have, depending on what you're editing, you may have things that are just sequential, and that's fine. So what I would say is, I mean, I don't know how many 2 camera things you're going to work with, but if, you just find a good place to cut from one thing to the next, you'll have no problem. So to trim any clip, and I'm going to actually zoom out quickly, which is the minus button again. I think that's good. So now we see the whole clips. To trim, there's 2 really good ways to trim a clip. And that's going to be where you see there's a red arrow. My arrow key turns into a red arrow when I go over the edge of a clip. That means I can now trim that clip to any length I want. And that's the same for the audio and the video. The thing is, if I trim this bottom one, because this is linked with the audio, it will cut the audio. So that's another thing where I would say unlink, and then you can select just that video or just that audio or just the top video and trim those. The second best way to trim is using the blade tool. So we'll go back to our cheat sheet and you'll see this doesn't have the bottom of the keyboard, does it? Okay. Well, there are other cheat sheets online. But I was like, well, I'm pretty sure we're missing a whole row of letters down here. Okay, well, the C letter, just think of C for cut. And that's going to give you the blade tool. On Final Cut, it was B for blade, which I know is a little bit easier to remember, but C for cut. The other way to do it is on the left here. These are all the tools that you'll need. So this blade right here, or it's called the razor tool, and it actually has in parentheses C. So that's another way to remember. So I'll either click that or I'll press C, and then I'll make the cut where I want to make the cut. So let's say I want to make the cut right after she goes, bleh. I'm going to make that cut right here, right where the bar is. And I'll just click. And then I can do one of two things again. I can either trim that clip to where I want the other one to end, or I can make another cut with this blade tool. So I know that I'm going to look at the other clip underneath, starting after the
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Could I, maybe you could give us a little context, meaning, let's say which is your primary clip of the two there?
The primary clip is underneath.
It's clip 2. All right. So let's say you wanted to do the first third using camera 2.
Mm-hmm.
This middle third, you want camera 1. And then the last third, you want to go back to camera 2. How do you make those kinds of cuts?
Perfect. That's actually makes it so much easier for me. So exactly what you said. I can't see who it is. What's your name?
Angelo.
Angelo, thank you. So Angelo made a great point. Let's do this in thirds. So I'm going to go from camera 2, which was our main camera, to camera 1 for the middle section, and then back to camera 2 for the last section. So I've already made this cut, right? And all I want to do is just hit delete.
Okay.
So now,
happened to the other fellow?
so now we have a cut from camera 1 to camera 2.
It automatically goes to camera 2. Why would it automatically switch to camera 2? Why wouldn't it stay on camera? Excuse me. Why would it go to camera 1? Why wouldn't it stay on camera 2?
Because I got rid of that first overlaying feature.
Right.
So I made a cut. I deleted that clip.
Right.
And where I kept the cut, which is right here,
Yeah.
is where it's going to switch to whatever's on the top layer of my video.
Go to the top. Okay. That's what I
Yeah.
meant.
Anything that's on the most top layer, you could have 20 video tracks.
Right.
If on number 20, it's going to show whatever's up there first.
That gets priority. Okay.
Exactly. So actually, another way to think about it is, let's say I shot this at a different resolution. This is what we're looking at. You see that? So this is a good visual representation of how this camera 2 is, or camera 1 is on top of camera 2
Okay.
physically. I'm just gonna undo that. Okay. So yeah, so that just made that cut.
James like on his name.
So for the second one, I'm gonna trim it the other way so I can show you how to do it. So we've done it with the cut tool, the C tool,
Mhm.
and we've deleted the clip before that so that we can make that cut.
James Bond.
I think so too.
No, I'll tell you which one it is.
So just when she starts to go and whisper, I'm gonna trim that top clip and make a cut back to camera 2.
Cool. All right.
So now you know how to do it with the cut tool, and you know how to do it with the trimming. So now it just made that cut.
Great.
James Bond.
And there's the other cut. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. I don't know if I
Awesome.
can do it, but it makes
Uh,
sense.
No, if you want me to go over that, I can just undo all of those. And do that again.
It's a matter of practice. Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha. Absolutely. I mean, you won't really get it until you've done this 40 times, because it took me a long time to really start to get this right. It also, as you do it, bits and pieces will come naturally because it will make sense. Like once I started learning After Effects, which is another Adobe program, once I understood the very, very basic principle of what, let's say, a keyframe is, everything else just made sense. So once you understand, I want to make a cut at this point, exactly at the point that I pressed the space bar, which, sorry, I should have made clear is how you play the video and pause the video. Sorry, I missed that. If I want to make it right where I pause the video, I need to know that to make a cut, I can only do it by either pressing the C button and then making the cut at that point, or using the regular arrow tool and trim it to that point. Those are the two ways that I'm going to make an edit. If I wanted, another way that we can do this is if we wanted it, let's say my two clips were at different places. So, okay, so here's clip 1 and clip 2.
How did you get clip 2 down there?
I just quickly just made it happen. Just I'm just saying, like, imagine these are two completely separate clips.
Right,
But
that's
they
what I want.
somehow actually have the same thing. Maybe I should do this with the other thing, but I'll show you this now, and then I'll do it with the other clips that we have. If I just put these right together, you know, it goes right to that next one. So I'm just showing you that
Okay.
even on the same video line, on the same video track, a cut can be made.
Right.
Okay. So let's play a little bit with our other clips. Let's say the Doctor Who Series 12 trailer copy. And we want to take a bit from that.
The name's Doctor. The Doctor.
The security of this entire planet is...
Let's say we want to stop right at this fade to black. So I'm going to hit my out point. And I mean, you actually don't even need the in point in the beginning because it's automatically assuming you want it to end at that point and start from the beginning. And we'll click and drag this whole thing down. And so now we have this in the timeline. So you noticed what happened is that this is now smaller than the frame. Going back to what I was saying about resolution, this is shot at 1080 and this is this was downloaded at 720. So a quick fix to that is if you click the clip and then you go up to, in your preview window, you'll see Effect Controls. You'll click that, and you'll see all these different fun controls. The thing you have to worry about is scale. And you'll scale it up until it reaches the same size as your video.
Okay, great.
Okay?
The Doctor.
So you may have different things at different sizes. Sometimes they'll be bigger, and then you have to scale them down. And let's say we want to take a part of the clip from this other Exterminate New Year's Day special clip. Let's say there's a part somewhere over here. I want to start when the TARDIS starts to fade in, and I'll set my in point. And I want to end there, and I'll hit my out point, O. So I and O, all day, I and O. And then you click and drag and put that right next to it. And it's going to have the same problem probably. Let's see. Yep. So we'll click the clip, go to Effect Controls, go to Scale, scale it up. So now, with these two clips together,
The security of this entire planet is.
Can you scale it up large enough to get rid of those black bars on the top and bottom?
Sure. The thing is that the video naturally had the black bars because it's
Right.
different aspect ratio.
I
But
get it.
yeah, so if you're working for a company, like a lot of the times with the company that I work for, they're like, get rid of the black bars. We don't need black on the screen. So in that case, I would do exactly that. I would just go back to scale and scale it up more.
Okay. You lose some, but it works. Okay.
Exactly. You start to notice in her face, she's getting a little pixelated, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's what happens, but you know, you also need to fill up the frame because every TV, every phone, every TV, every computer, it's the same rectangle, and it's either going to fill it up or it's not.
Mhm.
So when you're doing your videos, just know that if you're doing this frame, that's what you want to fill up.
Okay.
Let me just make sure. Chat. Oh yeah. So to answer the question from before, I'm sorry, I just saw it. It if it's shot in 1080, it shouldn't lose resolution. If it's shot in 4K, it shouldn't lose resolution. Anything less than 1080 projected large, you'll start to notice. Yeah, you'll start to notice. A lot of the Apple phones that are coming out, or actually have come out already, have 4K. The thing is that the more resolution you have, the bigger the files are going to be. And you'll start to see that 2 terabyte WD hard drive go away very quick. It's just the nature of the beast. But then you get great videos, so great. Also, I mean, I'll save it for later, but do people know if you're using your phone, do you know how to get the clips onto your computer? Is that something that I should go over a little later?
No, I can do that.
Yeah? Okay. If anybody needs help with that, I can do a quick, it's very simple. I can show you how to get your videos and photos from your phone to your computer. So just let me know. So I've made this edit.
To this entire planet is.
And so one thing that we do when we're shooting interviews, if you've worked with interviews before, is something called B-roll. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these clips that I just made as B-roll for the interview that I'm editing. So, but the problem is I can't use the audio from the thing, you know, the music from the video, because it's too loud, it's too much. I want to get rid of it. And so 2 things I can do. I can either select both of these clips and drag that down and drag these up and then put them where I want them to go in our interview. And then I can either mute the track that those are going to be on.
James, like I'm his name.
So now you can hear the people in the interview, but you can't hear the music. Or we can do the same unlinking where we select the clips, right click, hit unlink, and then delete those pieces of audio. Let me just zoom in here, the plus button again. And now,
That's James, like I'm his name. James Bond.
so now I'm using B-roll
No.
over the interview that we just edited. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can you add music without muting the interview?
Mm-hmm. That's exact. I'm going to do that at the very end because that's
Okay.
at the very end is usually when I add music
Okay.
to these kinds of projects. But you know, let's say, all right, well, you know what, this was just a little too long. This was too much B-roll, or you know what, I don't even know if I like where it is. So here's when you can start to change where you put the clips, where you put the B-roll clips. So we know our interview is set. We have it exactly the way we want it, which in this case is just camera 2 into camera 1 for the second half. It's just split in half. Instead of before where we had it in thirds, now it's just split in half. and I want to take one of these clips, let's say this first clip, and I want to put it somewhere in the beginning. Let's put it all the way in the beginning. And let's just end it where she says the doctor. Let's just end it there. And this is where you have to get a little finicky and press the plus button a bunch of times so you can see frame by frame, like, okay, I want it to end right before the asteroid or whatever it is. Bam. And then I'll either do my cut tool, C, cut, and then to get back to the regular selection tool, you're going to use the V, which, oh God, of course it's on the bottom row. Sorry. C for cut, V for selection tool. Sorry, it's not an acronym, but C and V are what you're going to use a lot. So you hit C to cut, you make the cut, you hit V, you select, and delete. Simple as that. Or the other way, this is still where I want to make that cut, right after she says the doctor, and you get the trim down to that point. And that's it. So I'm going to do it for that. And I'm going to take this other clip, trim that down a little bit. I think that should be okay. And I'm going to put that
James Bond.
right after she says James Bond.
Bond.
It is James Bond.
Oh.
We're good at this.
Okay? So now I've been able to manipulate my clips however I want. I can take out the audio. I can trim them down. I can put them on top of each other and make it look like it's just a cut from the interview to a cut to the B-roll and a cut back to the interview and a cut from one camera to the other camera. You know, this is how I do all those basics. And again, for any kind of video you're working with, that kind of principle is going to be exactly the same. If you want to, you know, just do cuts next to each other instead of on top of each other, that's fine too. You know, it's going to be however you want it to work. But you have to know that the sequence is always going to move from left to right, but the program is only going to show top to bottom. I think that's the best way to think about it. So if I have, you know, here's my interview clip, I just covered that with one B-roll. I could cover it again with another piece of B-roll, and now that's what it's going to show. And a little trick to, if you want to see what's underneath without moving them, there's little eyeballs over here. That's toggle track output. You just toggle off the tracks. So now the clip, you know, these clips are still there, but you're just not seeing them. And by the way, when you export it later, if you leave these toggled off, it won't show those tracks. So, you know, that's another thing to keep in mind, that if you wanted to see, you know, this track, make sure it's toggled on when you're exporting. Okay. Two more things of media to work with before we get to exporting is going to be images and music, or audio of any kind. So we have 3 images here that I gave everybody. It makes it look like I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I've never watched the show. It's just what I happen to have worked with, you know, last year. So what's interesting about images in Premiere, when you double click the image, it will actually already set up an in and out point for you of 4 seconds and 29 frames. I don't know why. It just does. And it does that for every single image that you double click. So if you're happy with 4 seconds and 29 frames, just drag it in. If you want it to be for a less amount of time, you can change that up here, or you can change it when you're down in the timeline, which is more likely what you'll do. So let's pick an image that we like. I think that's pretty badass. So I'm going to take this one, and I can either do the same thing, click and drag from the screen, or click the video only, which it's not a video, it's just an image. And I'm going to put that somewhere where I think is appropriate.
Jen's mom.
I think so too. No.
Okay, two things wrong. I think the image is a little long. It's going to take too long to be there, so I'm going to trim it. But the obvious problem is that it's just here. And it's not filling up the frame, and it looks really weird because it's on her face. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with these two B-roll clips. We're going to scale them up. And now it fills the frame. So now our cut is going to look like this.
Jen's mom.
I think so too.
No, I'll tell you which one it is.
And what it also did was it kind of covered up the cut that we made from camera 1 to camera 2, or camera 2 to camera 1. So we notice these are different, but we don't notice the cut because we were over an image. It's a fun way to go about editing if you care about seeing cuts or don't care about seeing cuts. That's up to everybody. But we've now covered it up with an image. If you want to do something fun with the image, because just looking at a flat image is not fun on a video, something that you can do is set up a keyframe. This is where it's going to get a little complicated. So just if you've done this before, great. If you haven't, follow along the best you can. But this will get a little confusing. I want to make a keyframe. I want this image to go from here, and I want it to scale in closer, a little bit closer to our main character's face. So there's two things that I want to do. I want to scale it up, and I want to position the image so that her face is more centered at the end of the movement. Okay? This is where keyframes come into play. A keyframe is a moment in time where your object or your image or your video or whatever is going to do one thing, and at point A, and at point B it will end the movement. So to give an example, if I want to start the movement here at the very beginning of the image, I'm going to hit scale, but the little stopwatch next to scale, and I'm going to hit the little stopwatch next to position. And at the very end of the clip, I want it to do that movement that I was talking about. So now that I've hit those stopwatches, you'll see that there's two little keyframes that showed up on the left over here. And I'm going to start to scale it in slowly. And I'm going to move it a little to the left. That's it. That is how you create movement on an image.
What did you do to move the frame? How'd you move the frame?
So on position,
Yeah.
up in effect controls, position,
Right.
there's two axes. Now we're
Okay.
going back to math class.
Right.
We have an x-axis and a y-axis, and
Right.
your x-axis is what's going to move laterally.
Okay.
I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that's one way that you can do it. The other way, a little bit simpler.
You put your arrow on the number? I mean, exactly how
Yeah.
did you make it?
You put it on the number, you see that there's a little finger with a little
Right.
arrows next to it. So if you click and hold that, it allows you to change the number value.
By moving the cursor left or right?
Correct.
Okay.
Same thing for the y-axis. Another thing that you can do, which a lot of people like to do this better, is if you double click on the program window, you'll notice that now there's this blue outline that just showed up. Now you can move the image.
Easier.
Yep, much easier. The thing is that it's going to be a little less precise, because if I want it to be exactly, I don't want it to go up or down at all. I want it to just go right. It's going to be a little harder to do.
Right.
But it is easier, because then you can see, oh, okay, now her face is closer to center. And now that's where I want it to be. So the thing is that you need to be on the same point in the timeline while you're making those changes, or else it's going to create a new keyframe. So if let's say I moved the cursor to be here, the bar to be here, and I wanted to make that change, now that's going to set up a new keyframe here. And I don't want that. I just want it to be one simple move. So let me show you what this move now looks like.
I think it's up to him. No, I'll tell you which one it is.
This is what, if you are going to be doing this professionally, this is going to be the way that you may do it. I think iMovie and Movie Maker and other programs like that have some built-in effects that are a little bit easier. Use them. If you don't have the time to be doing all these precise movements, use them. If you're going to be working on like a documentary or a commercial or social media content for a company, these little movements are going to be important. But because this is just the intro video editing, that's going to be something that you either call me for, or maybe I'll do an advanced editing class and I'll get more into it. So these are our, how we're going to work with images in the edit. Let me just double check chat because I have a couple things. Okay, great. 4K. Yeah, 4K is a considerably noticeable difference. It's going to be a higher definition quality, and so here's the fun thing about 4K is that anything that you do online, if you're putting this out for YouTube or Vimeo or any of those things, they're pretty much downgrading it to 1080 anyway. So, I work with a lot of clients for commercials and things that want 4K, 6K, 8K, and I often tell them it doesn't really matter because it's going to be down. You're going to put this out online unless you're putting it on TV, which also, by the way, is 1080. So no matter what, the more quality is going to make this much of a difference. If it's on a movie theater screen, that's where you're going to see big differences. But otherwise, online stuff, 1080 is what it's going to downgrade to anyway. So shoot in 1080, it's less file sizes. 4K is fine. 4K it's still good. The benefit that editors find with 4K is that because everything's getting downgraded to a smaller size anyway, with 4K, they can push in and make it as if it's a new shot. They can change the shot, So let's say if this camera was shooting 4K, I could say, well, you know what? This is going to be the angle. But because it's not 4K, that's why the clarity does not look too good. So, but if it was 4K, I would feel more comfortable of making that kind of cut. Okay.
So Lucas, can I ask you a question?
Please.
So the 4K then, so if it gets downgraded, for lack of better words, to 1080,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then when you're watching it on YouTube or whatever, but you're on your big screen, you're going to notice that difference.
Yes, absolutely, you will.
That's
and
right.
Go ahead and watch any YouTube video and put it on a big screen, and you'll notice, and make sure and set it for the highest resolution on YouTube, whatever it's 1080. Some of them say 4K. I don't believe it. And put it on a big screen, and you'll see exactly. It's not that great quality.
Why did they do that exactly? Are they like trying to save internet space or?
I couldn't honestly tell you. I mean, YouTube started before 4K even existed, so it may be because they don't have the power to run that. You know, it could be anything. It could be bandwidth issues. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has had internet issues since 2020 began, but as soon as the pandemic hit, you know, everybody was on the internet. Everybody was constantly watching YouTube, watching Netflix, doing all these things. So everybody's internet was slow because there is only so much bandwidth in the universe that we can work with. So it's very fascinating how all of this works. I don't honestly know about the 4K with YouTube issue. They say that they show true 4K. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of it on a bigger screen. But yeah, so anyway, you're going to end up exporting these as 1080. You can export them as a 4K if you shot something on 4K. You can do that. I don't know what the biggest difference is going to be. Okay, so do we understand what to do with video clips and images? Do we all feel good about those? Cool. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to do, or I'll do two quick things because these are going to be important. We're going to select a song. I gave you 3 songs, whatever you think is more fun. Wow, that's loud. Okay, I know this one, so I like this one. And let's see. It's saying our video is about 21 seconds so far. So I'm just going to take 21 seconds of the song. And we're going to do this the same way that we did before, where we set an out point. And then we drag audio. This is when you can't just click in here and drag this. It's going to change where the scrubber bar is. You have to click drag audio only. And you'll bring it down under your interview and B-roll clips. Already, I can tell you it's going to be very loud, so we're going to want to change that. One way to do that, right-click on the audio clip, hit audio gain, and set gain to negative whatever, negative 20.
I think so too. No, I'll take which one.
And to be honest, it's still too loud because you want to just really hear what they're saying and have the music just be like a little bit, very, very tiny, blip in the background. So maybe I'll bring that down to negative 40. Or not negative 40, negative 30. For those of you who don't know, this is working in decibels. So 0 is where is our clipping range, is where we want to be. Under that is where you bring the volume down to. So I'm bringing it down to negative 30 decibels.
James Bond.
So now I can hear them well. I hear a little bit of music, so I'm getting excited, but it's not overpowering. That's kind of where we want to be. That's one good way to change the volume. Another way is when you are on the clip, you go to up here to Audio Clip Mixer, and it's going to show you the levels of the audio, and you notice that the audio track, the music track is track 2, A2. So here is A2, and you can bring that down to whatever. We said negative 30. But because I also did audio gain, you're not going to hear it, so I'm not going to do that. But that's another way that you can do it. You just bring down the volume. Okay. Does that make sense so far with audio?
Can you add volume points?
Yeah, so that's another, I'll just go over that really quickly because that also gets a little complicated. But you can use a tool called the pen tool, and the shortcut key is just P. And you can make what's called, again, keyframes, the same way we did the scale in and position. You make keyframes on the track. Let's say I want to start louder and go down and then come back up. See how I'm doing that?
Yeah.
So now from here, and actually so that you can really tell the difference, I'm going to just make it louder altogether. Let's go to negative 15.
This never happened to the other fellow.
So you notice a very, very slight fade. I'll make it even more drastic.
This never happened to the other fellow.
And then it's going to come back up here.
It is James Bond. Oh. You're good at that.
So you see how I did that? And if you want to delete any of those points, you just click the keyframe, hit delete. A really fast way to fade out your music is you go to the end of the clip, right click, and hit apply default transitions. And it just makes a fade for you.
Good at that.
Super easy. That's my fade. I do that every day. Anything I'm doing, I just apply default transition, apply default transition. That also works for video. So if I put it on our clip,
You're good at that.
so now I just faded out the video clip and the audio track. That's the quickest way to have a nice, smooth transition. All right, that all makes sense?
What was that called?
Apply default transition.
Okay.
If you go to the edge of the clip and you right click on the edge of the clip, you can't right click on the middle of the clip. It has to be on the edge. And you'll see apply default transition. All right.
Got it.
Cool. And because it's already 8:30, I'm going as quick as I can, I promise. I'm sorry, everybody. I hope you ate dinner. Okay, so we have our music, we have our clips, we have our videos, we have an extra image in there. The last thing I'm going to do before I export this and send this off to my client is I'm going to add some text. This is the big thing that everyone's like, oh, well, you know, that text is, this is what I always get back from clients. I don't like that font. I didn't like the size. I don't like the, whatever. And that's fine, but you have to be ready to continuously change these things. If it's for, like I said back before, if it's for somebody's birthday or whatever, and you want to have their birthday on it, you want to have text in there, this is how you're going to do it. This, again, like I said, 2 different ways to do this. The newest way is that there is a text tool, and you can just press T or click the text tool, and then you can type right on the image. This is, I'm not even going to show you the other way because the old way is harder, but I like it better. But this is the easier way and probably the way to do it. So you hit the text tool, and then wherever you want it to be on the clip, you'll start typing. So you'll click and then type. So this was Doctor Who interview. And if I want to change this, I just go to Effect Controls. And this gives me all the options. I can change the color. I can change if it has a drop shadow. Now it has a drop shadow. I can change the font. You have to highlight everything, and then
How did you get to effect controls?
so effect controls are up at the top next to the source.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the things that you're going to be using a lot. Effect controls, audio clip mixer, and the source is where you'll see the preview window.
Okay.
So yeah, you can change the font. Let's see, what's my favorite font these days? Miro. Love Miro. It's just fun. I don't know why. And I can change it from regular to slant because that's the options it gives me. You know, whatever. I can make it bigger. Here's the way to make the font bigger. And, you know, and then you also want it to look halfway decent on the screen. So I hit enter to place it there. Maybe I'll change the size of the interview font, and I want them closer together. So I mean, these are all tools that you've seen on Word documents and Photoshop and all these. These are all the same. I'm not even going to go over these. But, you know, I want it to look a little bit better. So I think that looks fine. And I want to put it in the corner. And then I'm done. Because I think that's what's going to look good. And I want to trim it so that it doesn't, you know, spill into this, because that now looks weird. So I'm going to put it just over the B-roll. And I want it to fade in and fade out. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. On the edge of the clip, I right-click, apply default transition. On the end of the clip, apply default transition. And there we go. Fade in, fade out title.
Cool.
Okay, so there are so many other things that I could do, but I am going to spare you all and just show you how to export, because if you don't know how to export, nobody's ever going to see the video. So we have our sequence. We want to export it into one file so we can send that file to the client, send it to a friend, send it to your kids, wherever you want to send it to. We need the actual file to play. So to do that, we'll make sure that this is selected. If you have a clip, by the way, if you have a clip, let's say over here, that you forgot about, and you export this, it's going to have however many seconds of black here, and then it's going to show this, and then that'll be the end of the video. And you don't want that. So either make sure that you delete everything that's over here, or you can set an out point on your timeline. So I want to go to the very end of my music track here. That's the end of my whole video. And you do the same thing. You just press O to make an out point. And now I know that my file is going to be from here to here. It's not going to give me anything anywhere else. It's just going to be what's highlighted. I make sure that nothing is toggled off. I have all of my tracks unmuted, all of my video tracks on full view. There's no issue there. Okay, I know I have this now.
How do you preview it before you export it?
You preview by you'll put the scrubber bar at the beginning, and then you just press the space bar.
Okay.
And you'll just play it. The more things that you have on top of it, the more the computer is going to need to process and the program is going to need to process. And it may start to lag, or it may start to get staticky. If that happens, just check over here where it says full. You can bring that down to half resolution or quarter resolution. By changing the resolution, that will help the playback become real time. You'll lose quality just in the preview. You'll lose a little bit of quality so that you can watch it in real time. But the way I show you to export, it will be in full resolution no matter what. Okay? So we have this bit selected. And one of the ways that we're going to do this is go File, Export, Media. And you'll notice that it says Command M. That's the shortcut. So if you just hit Command M, it'll do that. So we'll do File, Export, Media. And then this window comes up. The go-to output codec format, whatever bits you need to know about it, the ones that we're doing today are H.264 And then we hit match source, high bit rate. And those are usually, even if you just downloaded Premiere, those are usually going to be the default because that's what everybody's exporting to. That's going to give you the smallest file size for the most quality. You can do bigger file sizes and get more quality, but it's just, like I said, going to get downgraded in YouTube anyway, if that's where it's going to go. So H.264 for the format, match source high bit rate for the preset. And you can double check all these little pieces of information if it's important to you, or you can just hit match source, and then it will make sure that it's exactly the same as it was imported to. And then you're almost set to go. You just need to make sure that you place it where you want it to go, which is going back to our whole organization bit. So I'm going to hit this blue title here. And I'm going to make sure it's in my big boy hard drive. Go to Acore, classes, editing class. So now I'm back to my folder that has all of my stuff in it. I'm going to make one more new folder. Go down here, and I'm going to call it cuts. This way I know all of my cuts are going to be in that. So if a client asks for a new cut, it's in my cuts folder, whatever the newest number is. So this will be Doctor Who interview. So DW interview 1. I hit save. And now one thing you can do is you can either hit export and it'll start exporting in Premiere, or if you have the whole Adobe suite and you're editing professionally and constantly, this is where I start to talk about Adobe Media Encoder. It's another Adobe program, really important, really useful for exporting while you're still working. So this way, if I hit export, I can't do anything else on Premiere until it's done. If I hit Q, it's going to send it to Media Encoder, and Media Encoder will start to export it while I'm still working on my edit. So let's say the client says, yeah, let me just see a cut. Okay, I'm going to queue that, and it's going to start sending it to Media Encoder, which is this new window that just opened up. And it's ready to go because I set it up. All I have to do is press play, or start the exporting. So I hit that, and now it's going. And I can go back to editing, just like I was. So another reason why I'm all for the Adobe programs, because they just work seamlessly together and allow you to keep working as fast as you need to at any time. And let's see, where's my Media Encoder? This is the Media Encoder icon, by the way, down here.
Where?
Okay. Do you see? So you see the Zoom one? It's right next to it. Do you see the bottom of my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. They all, by the way, they may actually look new now. So they may not look like this anymore because this is still the 2017 version. The 2020 version, I heard all the icons look terrible. So I don't know what they look like now. But anyway, this is the Media Encoder icon. If you don't have it downloaded and you do have the whole Creative Cloud suite and you do want to edit a lot, download it. Absolutely download it. It saves you a lot of time. This is also a way, because I know you may be working with 4K footage, this is a way to start making proxies. So you may have heard that. I'm not going to get into it, but if you want to know more about it, just email me and we'll talk about it. But it's a way to make proxies so that you can see 4K footage in more real time because it won't slow the computer down. Because this was a short clip and small file size, it's already done. And I know where to go look for it because in my editing class folder, I now have a cuts folder, and there's DW interview _1.
This never happened to the other one. James like I'm his name. James Bond.
I think so too.
No, I'll take each one.
I forgot to put the music down, so that's why it's still loud. But this is exactly why I'd say, okay, I'm glad I put that in Media Coder, because I'll just go back, quickly fix that, and just make a new cut really quick. So I can show the client what I had already, say, I'm sorry, I'm fixing the audio, do that, send it back over. It just keeps the workflow going. But just like that, I now have a high resolution full video with text, images, clips, and music. Let me just make sure I went over all the things that I want to make in content. Text, export, media encoder. Great. I hope this wasn't too much and too fast. I'm sure it was. I know it was, but that's kind of the editing world. And I did actually a little bit more than I was going to, because, you know, I get into it. But as an intro, I hope it was helpful. And I hope that, you know, people are interested in getting into more editing, because editing can be fun if done with decent content. Yeah, but let me just make sure no other questions in the chat. Okay. All right, good. Any last minute questions? I don't want to keep anybody up too much longer.
This was great. I know that I'm not going to remember everything, but at least I know what it can do, and I just have to figure out how to do it in my own program.
Absolutely, and it can do even more, way more than I showed. And please write down my email. It's Lucas Ruderman, the number 0 @gmail.com. For any questions that you have. I do one-on-one lessons. I'm considering doing another one for ACOR on more advanced editing, including possibly motion graphics, where it's like spinning text and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you think that's something that might interest you, you know, tell ACOR about it, tell me about it, whatever. Yeah, and I hope you all enjoyed. Any last minute questions at all?
Will this video be available somewhere?
This video will be, yeah, it'll be available to all that have already registered. So, or anybody who's willing to pay the registration fee to get the video, yes.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
I
you,
really
Liz.
appreciate
Great.
it.
Thank you so much. It was
you.
wonderful. Really helpful.
Well done.
Great to meet you
Awesome.
all. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, well, go make videos.
Okay, we will. Take care.